Aiden always believed his silence was invisible, until Liana entered his life. This cinematic storytelling video explores how silent people love deeper than words can ever show. Feel the depth of emotions, heartbreak, and the quiet power of love that speaks without sound. Watch, feel, and let your heart remember what it truly means to love silently. From the beginning, Aiden was different. When other children shouted, he watched. When others fought, he left. When others cried loudly, he cried quietly, wiping tears before anyone noticed. People assumed he was shy. Some assumed he was weak. But silence isn't weakness. It's a language. Aiden just happened to speak it fluently. He spent his childhood drawing, sitting by windows, writing in notebooks no one read. Teachers said he needed to open up. Parents said he needed to be stronger. No one realized he was strong, just in ways they didn't understand. His silence wasn't emptiness. It was observation. It was emotion. It was survival. And as he grew older, that silence grew with him, like a shadow that knew too much. Aiden met Liana on a rainy afternoon. She walked into his life the way storms move into summer days. Unexpected, loud, impossible to ignore. Where he was quiet, she was vibrant. Where he was reserved, she was laughter. Where he observed, she acted. Their first conversation lasted only 8 seconds. She sat beside him on the bus, water dripping from her jacket. "You're Aiden, right?" He nodded without looking at her. "You're really quiet." Another nod. "That's okay. Quiet people feel more." At that, he finally looked at her. Her eyes held no judgment, only understanding. Nobody had ever said something like that to him. And in that moment, without knowing it, Liana became the first person who truly saw him. Love didn't happen in one moment. It happened slowly, quietly, in the way she sat with him while he worked on sketches, in the way she filled the silence without trying to break it, in the way she talked about her dreams as if they were colors she was painting across the sky. Aiden didn't know how to express love, but Liana understood love wasn't always spoken. Sometimes it was a gesture, a shared gaze, a small smile, a heartbeat that sped up whenever she said his name. She noticed all of it, and she loved him not despite his silence. She loved him because of it. He was the calm in her chaos. She was the voice in his quiet. Together they were balance. But loving deeply comes with a cost. Aiden had always struggled with fear. Fear of loss. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being forgotten. He didn't tell her this. Silent people rarely say what hurts. They just hold it. And the deeper he fell for Liana, the heavier his fear became. What if she realized he wasn't enough? What if she grew bored of his quiet nature? What if one day she woke up and found his silence suffocating instead of comforting? The more he loved her, the less he spoke. Not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much. Liana felt the distance, even when he held her hand. "You're fading again," she whispered one night. He shook his head. "I'm here." But silence can feel like distance, and distance can feel like loss. Even when love is strong. It was raining, always raining when life decides to fall apart. They sat inside her car, windows fogged, breaths shaky. "I don't know what you're thinking anymore," Liana said, voice trembling. Aiden stared at his hands, hands that held her, hands that now felt too heavy. "Talk to me," she whispered. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out, not because he didn't have words, but because the words were too fragile, too deep, too raw. Liana's eyes filled with tears. "I love you, Aiden, but I can't be the only one fighting." He wanted to scream. He wanted to tell her she was the only light in his world. He wanted to tell her he stayed awake at night, terrified of losing her. He wanted to tell her he loved her so deeply it made him silent. But he said nothing. And sometimes, nothing is the loudest answer. She put the keys into the ignition. "If you don't speak now, I don't know if I can stay." Still silence. And that was the night she drove away, leaving him with every word he never said. Liana left the city. Aiden stayed. Years passed, but love doesn't follow calendars. It stayed buried in the quiet corners of his heart. He went to work. He drew. He walked the same streets. Life happened around him, but not through him. People said he had changed, but he hadn't. His silence had simply grown heavier. Every now and then, he found himself typing her name. He never pressed send. Silent people love the deepest, and deep love rarely finds closure. It was a late winter afternoon when he heard her voice again. He turned. She stood there, older, stronger, beautiful in a way heartbreak makes people beautiful. "Aiden." Just his name. and every part of him broke open. They sat together at a cafe where time felt slower. "I came back," she said softly. He nodded. "Why?" Her eyes softened. "Because I never stopped loving you." His breath caught, but before he could speak, she continued, "And I needed to see if you ever learned how to love without disappearing." He froze. She wasn't angry. She wasn't hurt. She was honest, and honesty is the sharpest mirror. "Aiden," she whispered, "did you ever heal?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. Silent people don't know how to explain pain. They only feel it. She stood to leave, for the second time in his life, and something inside him snapped, not in anger, in desperation. "Wait." The word was small, but for a silent heart, it was an earthquake. Liana turned slowly. His voice shook. "I never stopped loving you." Her eyes were already wet. "I know. I didn't speak because I didn't want to lose you." She stepped closer. "And you lost me because you didn't speak." He swallowed hard. "I was scared. For years." He nodded. It felt safer to stay silent than to say something wrong. She cupped his face gently. "Aiden, love isn't safe." He closed his eyes. Tears fell. Not loud. Not messy. Soft, like everything about him. "I'm sorry." It wasn't an excuse. It was a confession. A broken one. An honest one. Healing didn't happen overnight. They talked. Slowly. Painfully. Honestly. Aiden learned that silence had protected him, but it had also imprisoned him. He learned to speak piece by piece. Not perfectly. Not always clearly. But honestly. And Liana listened. She loved him gently, without pushing, without rushing. They rebuilt slowly. Two people who had always loved deeply, now learning how to love openly. One night, months later, they sat together on his rooftop. City lights below, stars above. Liana rested her head on his shoulder. Aiden held her hand. Not trembling, not hiding, present. She whispered, "Do you know why silent people love the deepest?" He looked at her. "Why?" "Because everything they feel stays inside them for so long. It turns into something heavy, something real, something impossible to forget." He nodded slowly. "And when they finally give that love to someone, they give all of it." Aiden exhaled softly. "For you," he whispered. "I always did." She smiled. "Then don't stop now." He didn't. Not anymore. Aiden didn't stop being a quiet person. He didn't stop being thoughtful or gentle or introverted. But he stopped hiding. Silent people love deeply. But when they learn to speak, they love powerfully. And Aiden finally understood. Silence is not the absence of love. It is the place where love grows. But love is meant to be shared, not buried. He kissed her forehead softly. A quiet gesture, a deep one, the kind only a silent heart could give. The end.